Welcome back to the Natural Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Kieran May, and today I am delighted to be joined by professional boxer Caoimhin Agyarko. Caoimhin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
It's we've met years ago. It seems like a lifetime ago now in CM Sports Therapy. You then this was before COVID, so you were professional, but your career's exploded recently, albeit there's been ups and downs and challenges, and I would love to kind of go into that today with you, but also like to find out a bit more about the man outside of the ring. How would you describe Caoimhin Agyarko outside of boxing?
It's a tough question because I feel like boxing is me.
Okay.
But I'm just a regular guy. Just when I'm away from training camp and I'm back home, I just like to spend time with my friends, family, my girlfriend, and just live a regular life and kind of take as much in and do as much as I can with my loved ones because I'm away for so long at a time. Do you know what I mean? I was just away for 14 weeks or do you know what I mean? So it's a very long time. Majority of the year I'm away, so I just like to come home when I'm home, just be around friends and family and spend some time with them. And I'm always playing sports, whether it's paddle, golf, football, boxing, a bit of MMA training. So I'm always in the gym. But yeah, just a regular guy and living a regular life away from boxing outside of it.
What I'm laughing at here is like I've met you before, and you're very grounded, and you've a good head on your shoulders, and you live a good life outside of the ring. Like you know, and even we spoke off camera, like you don't. There's none of that wrestling mentality of calling people out on Twitter and all the rest of it. And there's a bit of an alter ego because even it's almost when you watch you fight like Black Thunder, there is an aggressiveness and almost like that hunter in the ring where you see that switch from the very grounded, reserved Caoimhin into an elite level fighter. Do your friends and family and girlfriend, do they recognise the change in you going from Caoimhin who's chilling at home and very grounded to Caoimhin that essentially wants to knock his opponent's head off?
Yeah, I think so. I think my friends and maybe especially my missus dreads when I'm in camp because I am a completely different person. It's a completely different mindset that you have to have when you're in camp. Because for me, I'm away from my friends and family, and I live on my own in Liverpool and train 2-3 times a day. And other than that, I'm sitting in a room with 4 walls and a TV. Do you know what I mean? So it's very, very lonely. So I think that I program my mind to be able to cope with all that, and it changes me slightly, a bit more maybe moody, stubborn, stuff like that. But yeah, I definitely think they see a difference in me whenever I go into that fight mode for camp.
I'm assuming, Caoimhin, like that change needs to happen. You know, you're going into potentially do 12 rounds with somebody that's also trying to take your head off as well. That switch, does it happen like that, or is it progressive throughout the camp? Are you in control of it, is what I mean? Like if you go into that alter ego of the warrior, are you in control of that switch, or does it happen naturally throughout your training camp?
I think it happens naturally, and as the weeks go on, it kind of gets worse and worse and worse. As worse, the closer I am to the fight, the more cold I am, the more focused and locked in. And I there's certain stages of camp where I'll wake up and I know it's just that I'm that person now, and I'll have to let my missus and friends know that I'm at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't really understand it, and they don't really understand the mood swings or the coldness. So obviously a bit of communication with them helps the relationships. But I definitely notice at certain stages of the camp that that's it's a different mindset, it's a different person, it's a different outlook on things, and it definitely changes my moods, the way I think, the way I am, the way I act.
It's great self-awareness that you know, right, I need to communicate to my loved ones here. Like, I'm in fighter mode. Can you get back out of it again when the fight's over? Like, do you find it easy to transition from the warrior that's just went 12 rounds on the world stage to, okay, the next day I need to be back as a partner, a son? Do you find it easy to transition back again?
Um, I I wouldn't say easy, but I understand it. I understand that days after, or maybe a week or two after, that I'm still that person. But having to realise that I'm not in camp anymore, and I can't be as cold and selfish and heartless towards loved ones, because it's not their, like, it's, you're not in that, you're not fighting. You don't need to be that person anymore. And yeah, so it's one of them ones where when I come out of a fight a couple of days after and stuff, I need to realise that, right, you don't need to be that person, and you need to switch. And maybe not all fighters like that. Maybe they can be this exact same throughout camp. But for me, it helps me perform. It helps me get into that mindset of it's me against another person, and no outside noise. But when I come home, I need to realise that I don't need to be that person anymore.
Is there any come down of sorts, Caoimhin, from going from that ultra focused laser beam kind of, I have one task at hand, which is to fight and to win, to then 2, 3, 4 days later, like your girlfriend wants your attention, your family wants your attention, and you're having to mellow and soften down and give yourself to the other people too? Is there a come down to that, or is it like how do you process that internally?
I don't think there's a come down to it. I think it's something that just happens naturally, but it's also tough when you're in that frame of mind for so long and laser focused. To then it happens so quickly. The fight night, the fight week, everything happens so quickly. To then have to switch instantly when you're out of that. But I feel like mostly after fights, it's a relief.
Yeah,
I can chill. I can relax. I can training camps and being away from home. It's very intense, very mentally challenging, very mentally draining at times, and I always feel like when I come home after that day after the fight, leaving the hotel and going back home, I always sit on my couch and just, it's like the relief just leaves my body, because you're under so much pressure to perform, and you've been away for so long in camp and programming your mind to be in the best place possible for the fight. And then obviously having to go into the fight and put it all on the line, so everything, you're so tense and so what's the right word, like, don't want to say hard on yourself, but it's just when you've won, and or if you lose, you can sometimes, obviously I haven't faced that, but when I've won, it's just like this relief just leaves my body, and it's just like, thank God that's over for another while.
I can only imagine, and we'll kind of go into that more around like the being the man in the arena, performing in front of millions watching on TVs, tens of thousands in the stadium, and even the resilience required of putting it all on the line. Because in boxing, like we're going to talk about the business of boxing, it's different to the UFC, and that a loss can take your career in a totally different direction. You've said from day one, when you went professional, I'm going to be Ireland's first black world champion, and I kind of want to take you back to your childhood with regards to your upbringing. What was it like growing up as a young boy in a housing estate in West Belfast, and what drew you to boxing at such a young age?
Yeah, well, obviously moved to Belfast at a young age from London, and it was tough coming to the heart of West Belfast and with a British accent, mixed race. It's not something that people in West Belfast seen or were accustomed to. So growing up, I faced a bit of racism and stuff like that. But I always see myself as Irish. My family's from Turf Lodge, so even when I lived in London, I'd come over every summer and spend time with my granny and stuff. So I've always seen myself as Irish, even when I lived in London at a young age. And so for me, it didn't really affect me that much. I kind of realised at a young age that, or understood that, you're going to be seen as kind of a outcast and treated like an outcast because you were born in a different country and grew up differently and have a different accent and different colour of skin. So it was tough, but then I joined boxing and things changed. I think Holy Trinity's always been a massive part of my life, obviously, but at a young age, it helped me fit in. It, it opens its doors to anyone from the community, any religion, colour, race, whatever it may be, and everyone's treated as equals. So I joined boxing when I was 7 or 8. So from then, it was easy for me to kind of realise that I'm just one of them. I'm just the same as everybody else, and the kind of racial slurs on the streets stopped. And yeah, I didn't really have a bad upbringing or bad childhood. I was always in the gym and stuff like that. So, but boxing definitely helped shape me at a young age.
One thing I love about the sport of boxing, especially here in Belfast, is it seems to unite people. So other sports still have that green and orange at play, and boxing, certainly from the outside looking in, it seems to be that if you're a boxer, regardless if you're black, white, green or orange, you're a boxer and therefore you deserve respect. Do you feel as if that kind of welcoming from Holy Trinity Boxing Club allowed you to not be seen as different anymore? Like I'm part of this boxing community as opposed to I'm from England or I'm mixed race.
Yeah, definitely. I've always seen Holy Trinity's always been like a big family, no matter where you're from. Do you know what I mean? With Catholic, Protestant, white, black, they open their doors to people from all walks of life, and they don't see anything else other than human beings. So everyone's treated the same, and yeah, at a young age that helped me, like I say, fit in and realise that I was just like everybody else.
What's so special about Holy Trinity? Because it seems to churn out champions after even like Lewis Crocker, current world champion, yourself, Sean McComb, Kakachi, I think, trained there for a while, and then they've just this, like, even if you look back through the Irish amateur scene, Holy Trinity's always there, isn't it? It's always, is it the Hawkins family? Is it the culture within the club? Like, if you were to be able to communicate why it is widely regarded as one of the best boxing clubs in Ireland, what would it be?
Michael Hawkins Sr.
Right.
Michael Hawkins Sr., he's... I don't know, he's first and foremost, he's an unbelievable man with very hard on his principles, respect, stuff like that. But as a coach, he's the best coach I've ever worked with, and I've been in the sport a very long time. But he understands the game, he understands boxing, he has that love and passion for boxing. It's great. After fight weeks or after fights, first thing I do is go to Mickey's shop and have a debrief of him. And I said to my manager the other day, it's not going to be the same because obviously the fight got pulled last minute, but I'll still go to Mickey's shop. And I actually called up to the club as soon as I landed back from Vegas on Wednesday, and then called into the shop yesterday and just speaking to him about boxing, just everything. I could listen to him talk about boxing all day, every day, and for someone at his age, he's in his 70s now, and he's been doing it since he was 18 years old. The love and passion and dedication and commitment that he has to boxing and to still trying to grow Holy Trinity and produce champions is unbelievable.
You had mentioned before you kind of started speaking about his boxing expertise and experience, you said that it's his values and his principles. What are they, and did they have an impact on you as you kind of started becoming a teenager and older within Turf Lodge and rising up the ranks of amateur boxing?
He's just very hard and working hard in life, no matter whether that's in boxing or away from boxing. No matter what you do, to give your all. He's very hard on respect and treating people how you would want to be treated, and yeah, he's definitely helped shape me into the man I am today. I joined Holy Trinity at 8 years old or something like that, and I've known Mickey 21 years, and I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without him. A lot of people in boxing that came from Holy Trinity wouldn't be the people they are or the athletes they are without him. I don't think he gets his credit for what he's done for the community, but he doesn't seek that. But yeah, he's helped shape me into the man I am, and a lot of my morals and principles I've learned from him, and he's always just been a very good role model for me growing up.
What a testament to somebody. And
Yeah.
I think that speaks, like, those community leaders. I think that's probably the most admirable thing about them. They do so much for so many people and never really seek recognition. You know, give us an overview of your own amateur career, because it's, I mean, it's when you have a look online, it's unbelievable, the amount of titles and what you've done in the amateur ranks as well.
Yeah, I had a good amateur career, winning 6 national titles from youth, or from junior right to senior, and had over 150 amateur fights representing my country in the World and Europeans, multi-nation tournaments all over the world, and I feel like I could have achieved more probably, but at that stage it was probably the right time for me to turn pro. I didn't really want to wait around for the next Olympics, and then obviously COVID halted things with the Olympics, so I was kind of glad that I turned pro when I did. But yeah, I had a very good amateur career. I wouldn't say it was the best, maybe being a bit hard on myself, but achieved. I wanted to be an Irish senior champion, and I achieved that. So winning an Irish title at 14 years old, right up until I was 21, that's probably the greatest achievement that I've had to date.
We've had Ryan Burnett on, Jamie Conlon, and somebody else, and all three have said the highlight of their career was winning an Irish title as an amateur. Why is it so? Why do so many professional boxers that fight in front of tens of thousands in stadiums still go back to that basketball arena in Dublin to say that was the peak?
I think it's the first thing you want to accomplish when you're an amateur boxer, to be the champion of your country and the number one in your country. It's at a young age. It's everything to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like I fought, like I said, in front of tens of thousands of people, co-main event in Windsor Park, unbelievable achievements. But winning an Irish elite title is the best achievement I've ever achieved.
Wow.
To be number one in your country, at the highest level possible, it's not many do it. So I think for me, it's just a privilege to achieve something like that.
Incredible. What age were you, Caoimhin, when you then decided I'm going to go professional?
21. So
That's very young, isn't it?
Yeah. You see a lot of amateurs turning pro at 18, 19 now. But yeah, at that time, I was very young. But like I said, I just missed out on going to Commonwealth Games. I was beaten in the Ulster Elites. I'd missed out on going to Rio, probably too young and inexperienced when I was just coming onto the elite scene. And then obviously I won an Irish elite title, which things were then looking up for me, and maybe if I stayed on the Irish team I would have developed and maybe qualified for Tokyo. But I got an opportunity to fight in the WSB. At the time it was like a professional, it was like a semi-pro organisation. It was an amateur organisation with pro rules. You had
I remember that, yeah.
You had pro gloves, pro wraps, no vest, and it was like you were drafted for different countries to fight for their team.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
What country did you represent?
Italian funders.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And you could qualify for the Olympics and stuff through that. So it was over 5 rounds as well, rather than 3 rounds in the amateurs. So once I had fought in the WSB and I was already thinking about turning pro, I just felt that the WSB platform was great for me, and I got a great win, a 4th round stoppage over a tough opponent. And I've always had the professional style as an amateur, and after I got a taste of kind of 5 rounds, I didn't go 5 rounds but 4 rounds, and just that platform, I wanted to go pro straight away. And yeah, that was really the nail in the coffin for me.
You were hooked.
I was hooked, yeah, straight away.
We're going to go into your amateur career because there's been loads of ups and downs. You mentioned co-main event, Windsor Park. I was at that, sold out, atmosphere was amazing, and you had an incredible performance as well. But before we go into your professional career and the business side of it and setbacks and opportunities, I'm going to take you back to what was quite a difficult period in your personal life with a stabbing incident in Belfast. And if you're from Belfast and you follow boxing, you will have been aware of that incident, but a lot of the listeners to this would be involved in business, and they're always very interested in mindset. And so they may not be aware of that particular incident, if you could maybe give us an overview of what happened.
Yeah, 2017. I'd just come back from a multi-nation tournament in Paris, where I won the gold medal, and I was just out a couple of days after it. I wouldn't say celebrating because I wasn't drinking, but it was kind of just to let the hair down. And I was fighting against. I was meant to fight against America the week after, so I'd left the nightclub early and went round to McDonald's to get some food. And a group of lads unfortunately started an argument with me, and yeah, one thing led to another. We ended up into a fight. There was around 30 of them, and just me. And
Was the aggression towards you? Was it because you were a boxer? Was it because you were mixed race? Was it just like a really unfortunate wrong place, wrong time? Like, what's your reading of it?
I think initially it was wrong place, wrong time. They'd thrown a McDonald's drink in the crowd, and it happened to hit the only boxer in that crowd. And I've obviously asked what were they playing at, and like I said, one thing led to another, and we've ended up in a fight. And once I've confronted them for why they threw it, then I was kind of racially abused. Then that led to a fight, and next thing I know, I've been stabbed. So yeah.
Am I right in thinking, Caoimhin, you were being jumped essentially by a couple of people in front of you, and initially you weren't even aware that you were stabbed?
No, I wasn't aware I was stabbed. Once I was pulled off, me and another guy were on the ground. Once I was pulled up off him, then someone had noticed that I was stabbed, and they had said that my face was in a bad way. And obviously I didn't feel anything, and being a boxer and knowing that I'm in a fight, that I might have a cut, I might have a bruised eye or something. I didn't know I was stabbed, and then obviously they had once they had said my face in a bad way, and I looked down and I was covered in blood, I kind of realised that things were a bit worse than I expected.
And it was quite severe. Like, you were very lucky to be here, I think.
Yeah, an inch lower, I bled out in 12 seconds. So, blessed to still be here. It was I was very, very lucky that night.
What was the extent of the stabbing, Caoimhin, when you went to hospital? And because I remember seeing the pictures at the time, and it was shocking to see it.
Yeah, so obviously I was stabbed from just above my ear right down to an inch from my jugular. There was no real damage other than nerve damage, and it obviously not hitting any main arteries. But obviously I had to, when I initially went into the hospital and they had said that they can't give me any anaesthetic. They need to get this closed now. So because I was losing too much blood. So obviously this stitched me up, and then a couple of hours later I'd gone for surgery, and I think I was in surgery for 2-3 hours, and then yeah, everything was kind of fine after that.
How many stitches did it require?
When they put stitches to close it, initially it was to get it closed, it was only like 20, but then they said there was like 50 on the outside, and then stitches on the inside, so they didn't tell me a full number.
And was anyone arrested for it? Like that? No.
Yeah, no one was arrested. Unfortunately, I was kind of failed by the justice system. They had said that if I was to pursue the case, that they would have to do me with a fray because I was fighting. I'm not too sure how. I'm not seen as they said I wasn't seen as the innocent party because I was fighting. Because initially, once they attacked me, one of them hit me with a bottle, and I'd hit the floor, and because I got up and chased him, rather than walking away, I wasn't seen as the innocent party. But my case was that they attacked me for no reason.
Was that because you were a boxer and they were arguing that you were a trained fighter? Was that the angle that we're going down? Because
they didn't even say anything about being a boxer. It was just simply because I got up and chased the guy that hit me with a bottle, and I didn't walk away. But my case was that if I had walked away, they just attacked me again. They attacked me initially for no reason, so I had no choice but to try and defend myself. And yeah, but anyway, nobody was arrested, or nobody was charged with nearly taking my life.
So, like, a lot of people would have struggled to deal with that. Out for a night out, letting her down between two international fights, not drinking, go to McDonald's at the end of the night, jumped, bottled, stabbed, rushed to hospital, failed by the justice system. How was there dark times after that? Like when you were sitting on your own the week after, 2 weeks after, at home, what was your thought process like? Was it anger? Was it sadness? Like, can you explain how you dealt with that?
Yeah, it was very tough. I think the first couple of weeks it didn't really hit me. But once I couldn't go back to boxing for 2, 3, 4 months, it hit me. It was very, very tough because boxing was all. I trained every day. I never took any time off boxing. And then when you go from training every day and competing every other month to nothing, not being able to because you'd lost so much blood that every time I tried to train that I'd get lightheaded and feel like I was going to faint and stuff, and having to take time off work, not getting paid, stuff like that. Everyone else around you is getting on with their lives, and you're not able to do what you normally do. You have a lot of time to think. So it was in my head a lot, and I had some dark places. I was at rock bottom for a very long time, and it was very hard to deal with. But I had great support from my friends, my family, and then I needed to go and get professional help. It was just getting a bit too much. I was struggling to deal with it. I think about 12 to 18 months after, I was really struggling with it, because for someone like me with a lot of pride and ego as a fighting man, nobody was arrested. There was somebody that was out there that nearly took my life, and I wanted revenge. I wanted them to feel the pain that I was in, and it was a constant battle with my mind. Do I take that road, or I take that road?
Mm-hmm.
Do I seek revenge and mess up all my plans and maybe go to jail or whatever it may be? Or do I stay on track and try to achieve the things that I've set out to achieve, and continue to box and not let this affect my career? So for a very long time it was a constant battle, and I had to fight a lot of demons, and I went and got professional help. So yeah, it was a tough time.
I think if there's one message to come out of this podcast, and it's that it's been a good success. I think when you look at the mental health statistics amongst men in Northern Ireland, and the suicide rate and addiction and depression and the refusal to ask for help and to speak out, the fact that it's came from a professional fighting man to say, like, the thing that got me from rock bottom was getting professional help, that is a very, very powerful message. What was that? Was that a psychologist, a counsellor, a coach? Like, was that just somebody helping you piece together that and then ultimately move on from it?
Yeah, I was a psychologist. I'm not someone, even now, I don't like telling people my problems. I like just dealing with myself and get on with life. But at that stage, I had people around me that were trying to help and wanted me to speak. They could see it was affecting me. And when I did eventually open up to them, and I understood that it helped me getting it off my chest. But I wasn't really going anywhere with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. And I knew that I had to get professional help. I had a stage where if I didn't, I don't think I would be here. And I realised that, am I going to really let this affect my life, and this issue that I've had to suffer, this incident that I've went through, am I really going to let it affect who I am and my plans in life and wherever I wanted to be here? So I kind of had to put my ego and pride to the side and say, right, okay, you need to make a change. You have to speak up, and you have to. Nothing changes unless you change. And I realised that if I want to, I knew that I couldn't continue what I was doing with the frame of mind that I was in, so I had to fix that. And I'm glad that I realised that. And went and got professional help, because it's definitely the reason why I'm here today.
That period of 18 months from the stabbing, being let down, the help from the psychologist, as you reflect on it now, having moved on from it, what's one positive thing that it showed you about yourself? Like what's the lesson that you still look back on now and maybe look back and go, like, this made me a better person in this aspect of my behaviour or mindset?
I just think when things get tough for me in life, I look back on the moments where I was at rock bottom and be like, if I can come through that, I can come through anything. So I like to reflect on the hard times in my life, even if it's away from the stab and other situations, when things aren't going my way and life starts to get hard. I realise that I'm human. Everybody goes through hard times, but I then reflect on the hard times that I've been through. Instead of being like, why me? I'd be like, why not me? I've proven that I can get through hard times. I've proven that I can stay strong, and I think with each situation, I mentally get stronger. And I think a big part of it is knowing how to control your mind. It's very hard to do that. It's very hard to do that. But in them situations where I'm feeling down or issues are going on in my life or in boxing, I try to control my mind to bring it to a positive place, and like I say, reflect on the things that I've been through and realising that if I can get through them, I can get through this.
It's really interesting, Caoimhin, because you've went through what seems like a tough time in recent weeks. A lot of things that have happened outside of your control. And when you come in here today, we'll talk about them, but when you and I spoke about them off camera, you seem so chilled about it. And the thing that you said that really stuck out was, it is what it is, I can't change it, but I'll just have to let my manager deal with that and ultimately move on. I suppose from listening to your story, there has to be a bit of a link between coming through that terrible, awful incident, becoming a stronger person as a result of it, albeit it was a brutal, brutal lesson, and your ability to deal with setbacks, injuries, people pulling out of fights in 24-hour notice. There has to be some sort of link for you to be able to control your mind to deal with that so effortlessly now. If we could maybe reflect on the past couple of weeks, because you've left your family home, you've went by yourself to go into those tough, lonely training camps, prepared, left no stone unturned, like sacrificed a lot to then go to America and fight. And if you could maybe talk us through what happened next.
Yeah, so obviously I was in a world title eliminator against a guy called Brandon Adams. Took the risk. I was a massive underdog. He's a very experienced fighter. Fought at a higher level, and a few people had turned down the fight with him, and I was next in line, and I accepted it. And I like a challenge. You know what I mean? I'm in boxing to be the best, and I know it's not going to be easy to get to the top. So I took the risk in facing him and going to his backyard and as the underdog. And unfortunately, 25 minutes before the weigh-in, I was told that a couple of hours ago Brandon had collapsed due to trying to make the weight, and that the fight was off.
I'm assuming you're in the zone. You're preparing to stand on scales in your head, like, I weigh in, I rehydrate, I refuel, I fight tomorrow. So that came as a massive shock to you, I'm assuming.
Yeah, massive shock. Obviously, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, surely not. 14 weeks of hard training, being away from my girlfriend and my friends, my family, being on my own in Liverpool, training 2-3 times a day, putting my body through hell, diet, and spending money on camp. For that moment, for the biggest moment of my career, I win this fight. I fight for a world title, and to then be told that it was all for nothing, really. And listen, it was an unfortunate situation. My coach had said to me, he's been in boxing a long time, and him and his brothers have fought for world titles and been world champions, and he's never experienced something like that. He's never experienced someone collapsing in the morning of the weigh-in and pulling out. So yeah, it was tough to take in that moment. It was just, for the first time, I let myself be emotional. My coach pulled me to say, was like, before telling me, he was like, don't go mad, don't flip the lid here, put the fights off, and I wasn't even in that headspace to be so angry. I was more so, why me again? Like, why? This is meant to be my big moment. I'm all week I've been taking in the moments of being on the billboards all over Las Vegas and being like, this is what I've dreamt of as a kid, and this is my moment to go and shine and show the world how good I am, my American debut, and then to be told that it wasn't going to happen, it was heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking.
When you're faced with such heartbreak, because it's one thing saying, I need to control my mind in these situations, I need to control my mind when things don't go my way, but when there's so much at stake, you know, your dreams, your face on the billboards, wanting to show the world how good you are, how do you start to, if the dominoes are going that way, why always me? This isn't fair. Why me again? How do you flip the dominoes the other way to just get back to that, like, okay, because what you said when you came in was, it is what it is, I have to move on to the next one.
Mickey Hawkins told me at a very young age to control the controllable, and that situation was out of my control, so I just have to get on with it. I think in a situation like that, you have to let yourself feel, because you've built all this tension, you're ready, you're in a certain mind frame to go to battle, and you've got that macho man on. And in that moment, instead of flipping the lid, I just had to feel, I just had to be a bit emotional. My friends, my missus, everyone was there. I just had a moment with one of my best mates, and then it was just, it is what it is. I can't do nothing about this situation. Control the controllable. I'm not going to stress about something that I can't control. And just had a conversation with my manager. What's next? Let's. I can't dwell on that situation. I don't have time to.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see what's next. What's the next steps in my career? And yeah, just got over it very. I wouldn't say I'm over it, but in that moment I had to get over it very quickly.
It's funny you said about like allowing yourself to be emotional. I remember speaking to Caoimhin Doris, who's the Irish rugby captain, and he missed out. He was called up to the British and Irish Lions, and he missed out through injury. So he was called up, selected to the team, and then got injured playing for Leinster, and ultimately didn't allow himself to be emotional. And he says he kind of just suppressed it. And then last year, he was tipped to be captain of the British and Irish Lions, and then injured his shoulder, I believe, playing for Leinster again. And he just did like 4 years of training again out the window, and was in the car with his best friend and just started crying, and then phoned his dad and cried down the phone to his dad. And he said it was the best thing he could have done, because once he allowed the emotion to come out and grieve for it, he was then, right, okay, it's out, I've cried, I've grieved, now it's on to kind of getting through this injury and going back again. And he captained Ireland to a really successful Six Nations. I think some men don't do that, they don't allow themselves to feel whatever they're feeling, let it go, and then ultimately move on from it. That saga is still kind of ongoing that I see last night, that I don't really understand how all these organisations worked and mandatory things, but did you kind of get shafted last night, or what? Explain that to a non-boxing fan, or like somebody who doesn't understand the different organisations. What's happened in the last 24 hours or so?
Yeah, so my fight was for an IBF final eliminator. Josh Kelly is the champion, and me and Brandon Adams were fighting to see who fights him next for the world title. In my eyes, I did everything that was asked of me. I was ordered to fight in a final eliminator when 4 other people turned it down. I took it. I trained extremely hard. I travelled to America to fight Brandon. I did everything that was asked of me. I made weight, whatever. And he obviously pulled out, so the right thing to do would be just to mandate me for Josh Kelly's title, because whoever won that fight was going to fight Josh Kelly. But the IBF have now ordered another final eliminator with me and the person that Josh Kelly beat for the title, which doesn't really make sense to me, because he's just coming off a loss. So why does he get an opportunity straight away to fight for the title? It was out of my control. I couldn't do anything about the situation in my final eliminator. Another situation, similar situation with an IBF final eliminator happened, whereas Paddy Donovan was ordered to fight Liam Porro for Crocker's title. Paddy pulled out sick, but Porro got elevated to the mandatory position, so he's fighting Crocker next. But in my situation, I have to go for another final eliminator. So that was ordered yesterday at 6 o'clock, I think. So to hear that, it was just another.
Why is there so many inconsistencies in boxing when it comes to like some judging results and like things like that, decisions like that? Why is there so many inconsistencies? I think but I love the sport of boxing. I love watching amateur boxing. I love watching professional boxing. It's an amazing sport, and boxers are amazing. But I think one thing that puts me off the sport is the inconsistencies, especially in judging, where you're looking at like there's no way on earth that person won, yet the judge is saying they won significantly. To me, it kind of ruins the reputation of the sport. What's your views on that, Caoimhin, with like decisions like that just don't make sense to an outsider like me?
Well, the decisions with like the governing bodies, especially the IBF. The IBF are probably one of the most strictest on their rules, and so I thought they would have did the right thing. And they are very strict. They don't want the division to be held up, and they order final eliminators and mandate people very quickly and stuff like that. But they make rules and don't stick by them at times as well, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know why they make these rules and then don't stick by them, but expect everyone just to get to do as they're told, and it's not fair in terms of judging. Just like judges are just they don't have to explain themselves. If a judge sees a fight, all they have to say is, "I see the fight. That's how I seen the fight." They don't have to explain themselves. They don't have to sit down with anybody and go through round by round and explain.
Yeah, they're not held accountable.
They're not held accountable. So it's easy for them to get away with it. I don't know if there's favoritism. Maybe if they're on a big show and they give it in favour of the promoter's boxer, they'll be on the next show and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. But with judging, it's crazy. They just don't have to explain why they've seen the fight that way, and it's just so unfair on fighters because they risk everything. They train extremely hard and make the sacrifices and ultimately put their lives on the line for an incompetent judge to just say that's the way I seen the fight.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it's come up time and time again now in these interviews where I think the average boxing fan watches the show on TV and it's now more of a showcase. You know, stadium fights, the glitz and glamour. It's amazing. You know, you've got the likes of the Zone and these big productions and now like money from the Middle East, and it looks glamorous. But what we all know is the business of boxing's anything but glamorous. It's very, very. I remember somebody saying it's more brutal than the sport itself because you're left to fend for yourself. If you don't fight, you don't get paid, and you know, decisions, injuries, none of that really matters. You know, if you're not fighting, you're not getting paid. You had mentioned the impact that sponsors can have on you, on your career, and allowing you just to be a full-time athlete. How does that work for boxers? Do you have to seek out kind of your own sponsors and develop a relationship with them? And what sort of freedom can they give you to train?
Yeah, so with sponsorship, obviously, it helps athletes become full-time athletes where they don't have to work. They can train and pay for all the costs that comes with boxing, whether that's meal prep, accommodation, flights, training gear, medicals, board fees, stuff like that, fight kits. It's a massive part for a boxer, and if you don't have it, it's very hard to succeed. because you have to pay the bills. So if you're not fighting constantly and you're not getting paid, you have to work. And if you have to work, you have to take time out of the gym, so you can't be the best athlete that you're trying to be. But yeah, I have a marketing team that help get me sponsors. They just come on board this year. A lot of people's management companies would help them, but in the past, I've just tried to get sponsors myself.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, athletes in general they're unbelievable marketers, or at least they can be. I mean, just in the world of the digital age and social media, like, boxers are boxers, but they're almost influencers as well, because they've a massive following, a massive reach, very interactive, engaged crowd, and it's I know there's a lot of business owners listen to this show, and it's probably a way of marketing their own business that they're not aware of. Like, if their logo's on the likes of your shorts, that Windsor Park fight last year, 16,000 people in attendance, hundreds of thousands of people watching it in the UK and Ireland, potentially millions around the world, and their logos on your shorts and on your fight gear. And it's a great way for businesses, I think, to put themselves out there through a different channel, but more importantly than that, you're helping support somebody's dream.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously it goes hand in hand. The business gets the kind of their business promoted on social media platforms, on fight kits, tracksuits, fight t-shirts, which is worn by your team, and mentions in interviews and stuff like that. And like I said, you do certain stuff for sponsors or whatever's in contract to promote their company on your social media platform. And a lot of boxers these days have a big following. And then on the other hand, it helps athletes be full-time athletes and pay for training costs, and they're supporting their career and helping them achieve their dreams and their goals. And like I said, it's a massive part of boxing and trying to get to the top.
I'm not going to ask you what your immediate future looks like, because I know just like things are moving very fast behind the scenes, even as we speak. Your phone was going before you came in, but I suppose if we kind of fast forward a decade or so, and you've perhaps retired from the sport, what would you like Caoimhin Agyarko to be known for?
Just that I was a good, hard-working fighter, and the first Black Irish world champion. I want to leave a legacy behind it. It's great that you want to be remembered for the fight you were in, the performances and stuff like that, but I want to be remembered for that I was an average, normal kid that was able to achieve something great. And when kids think about Caoimhin Agyarko, they can be like, if he can achieve something great, I can, because I am just a regular guy from an average background that's trying to achieve something great. And obviously I want to be known for being in great fights and world title fights and headlining shows and stuff like that. But I think I want to leave behind a legacy where kids from different backgrounds and people who feel like they don't fit in can look at me and be like, if Caoimhin Agyarko can achieve that, then why can't I?
An average person doing exceptional things, and I think that's just a lovely note to leave this on. Caoimhin, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Thank you.